Good evening and welcome to Sunset News on Tuesday, the 18th of July. As always, we bring you the news, community stories, economics, weather and sports. I am Ashwin Berry. In the news tonight, John Haufiku, spokesperson of the Namibia University of Science and Technology, has laughed off demands by suspended NAS Chief Legal Officer Joshua Kaumbi that he should retract comments made during a talk show on the national broadcaster or pay 500,000 Namibian dollars in damages. The deadline for the retraction was set for today, while Haufiku is also expected to publish his retraction in the New Era, the Namibian and Namibian Sun newspapers on 21 July 2023. Kaumbi, who was suspended on 28 April this year, accused Haufiku of making deliberate comments to paint him as a dishonest person with no integrity and credibility, disloyal to the university, and in breach of his fiduciary duties towards the university. Now, on Monday, Kaumbi instructed his lawyers TK Kaorevi legal practitioners to take Haufiku to task for saying he was suspended for leaking information to the media and that there is reasonable suspicion that it indeed was Kaumbi. Haufiku also asked to take back, saying there is proof that it is Kaumbi, such as email, text messages, and eyewitnesses to whom he has allegedly sent information, but it should go through due process. It is our instructions that your statements are devoid of any truth, and we have made instructions to demand that you provide the proof which you alleged to have. Now, according to our instructions, the statement, innuendos, insinuations, and suggestions made by you were published with the intention to injure our client's reputation and lower his esteem in the eyes of the staff of the university and the eyes of the Namibian community at large, the letter stated. Haufiku responded that he cannot take the letter of demand seriously at this stage because it still has a number of errors. Hopefully they will fix it, and then I'm happy to engage its content. Any competent lawyer would note that speaking on behalf of management is my contractual obligation. To pursue me personally for it is therefore a fool's errand, said Haufiku. The blood test conducted to determine the cause of death of the 16 family members from Kayova village who died of suspected food poisoning came out inconclusive. This was confirmed by Kavango East Acting Health Director Waita Kapumburu, who was responding to a Namibian Sun inquiry on the status of the test results that were conducted on the 16 victims who died after they had a meal comprising of porridge derived from mahango grains that were previously used for a traditional brew. The poverty-stricken family sought grains from another family member in exchange for reeds. The 16 family members died between 27 May and 1 June. We got the blood test back and it came as inconclusive, Kapumburu said. An inconclusive result, is neither positive nor negative. Kapumburu said that all hope now lies in the forensic and pathology tests, which might give a different result. It is still unclear to when the forensic and pathology tests will be concluded. The forensic and pathology tests are being spearheaded by the police through the National Forensic Institute, following the post-mortem, which was confirmed. Now able to produce at least 480 jobs in Oranjemund, Kara's regional governor Alita Frederick revealed recently. The mine announced this in October 2021, saying that its business plan will extend the current life of the mine until 2042, which will see an additional 40 billion Namibian dollar inflow, as well as preserving employment for our people and the livelihoods of families that depend on it. Frederick, during the region's State of the Region address last month, said that Namdeb's life extension will also provide opportunities that enhance investor confidence and will positively impact the socio-economic development of the southern coastal town of Oranjemund. The 50-year-old Johannes Tobias was found guilty of murder with the provisions of the Combating of Domestic Violence Act today in the High Court. Let's take a look as Irene Marie van der Walt reports.
Die 50-jarige Johannes Tobias is vandag in die Hoorhof in Windhoek skuldig bevind aan die moord op sy 28-jarige meisie Miriam Blok in 2021. Hy is daarvan beskuldig dat hy vir Miriam Blok 11 keer gesteek het en toe na sy bure toe gegaan het en vir hulle gesê het hy's moeg, hy's klaar en erken het dat hy vir Miriam Blok doodgemaak het en toe die bure geneem het na sy huis waar hulle die liggaam gesien het. Maar toe dit egter pleittyd raak in die Hoorhof het hy onskuldig gepleit op die klag van moord wat saamgelees is met die bepalings in die wet teen huishoudelike geweld. So, regter Naomi Shawute het bepaal dat sy ontkenning van gebeure 'n blote ontkenning is en het meer waarde geheg aan ander getuienisse voor die hof, onder meer polisiebeamptes en sy bure, wat almal dieselfde weergawe van die storie vertel het. Hy het homself later aan die polisie oorhandig en toe in die Hoërhof gesê dat hierdie nie die waarheid is nie en dat die polisie hom aangerand het en hom daarvan beskuldig het dat hy iemand doodgemaak het en nie vir hom gesê het wie hy kwansys doodgemaak het tot die volgende dag nie, wat hulle dan vir hom gesê het. Die persoon wat hy glo doodgemaak het is Miriam Blok. So Naomi Shawute het natuurlik bepaal dat hy wel skuldig is en dat hy wel moord gepleeg het en dat hy homself wel oorhandig het aan die polisie. Sy het onder meer bevraagteken hoe die okappie mes wat by die beskuldigde gevind is, of die skuldige nou, gevind is, sy DNS kan ophê as hy sê hy weet niks van hierdie okappie mes af nie en dit behoort nie aan hom nie. So, ander getuie, die Miriam Blok se broer het getuig tydens die verhoor en hy het onder meer gesê dat hulle verhouding goed begin het, maar dat dit later versuur het en dat dit van so 'n aard geraak het dat Johannes Tobias gewelddadig geraak het teenoor sy suster. Hy het onthou dat daar 'n geval was waar hulle by die polisiestasie opgeëindig het as gevolg van hierdie mishandeling in die verhouding, maar dat daar nie 'n klag gelê is nie, omdat die oorledene graag wou hê dat die beskuldigde moes gewaarsku wees. Maar natuurlik is die klagte nou toe nooit gelê nie en sy is op 1 Julie 2021 ongelukkig oorlede.
That brings us to the end of our top stories on Sunset News. Now, in our Story of the Day segment after the break, investors do not need to worry, says Chamber of Mines Namibia CEO.
Welcome to My.NA Cars, your ultimate destination for everything automotive.
I am your host, Diana Master.
Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Discover the latest models, innovatives, and expert insights from our passionate hosts. Learn essential maintenance tips and get exclusive behind-the-scenes access to the automotive industry. Don't miss My.NA Cars on NTV every Thursday at 2100 hours. Tune in and ignite your passion for automobiles.
Chamber of Mines of Namibia CEO Weston Malango says investors need not be worried about the new Equitable Economic Empowerment Bill as it has been de-risked.
Because each sector is unique. And basically I advocated for the flexibility to government to adopt flexibility when it comes to that, and which is what was adopted. And this is how you've seen there's no talk of the 25%, but there is the empowerment pillar still there. But it has got to be, now you determine, you as a sector, any sector, you determine what is doable for you. And this is how we determine, for us, the minimum is 5%, which is doable. Maximum can be anything, but the minimum, the issue is about the minimum. And this is how, because of that flexibility, the Financial Services Charter, they determine that 45% for them is doable. It is doable because we are unique. So can you see that? I think that has worked out well. To cut the long story short, is we as an industry, and that's why we engaged government many years back, 2010 actually. And when we had all the clarification, then we proposed that we are going to draft a mining charter on behalf of government. We'll draft it as theirs, it's them to legislate. We did that. And then we at the time, we requested government to gazette that, and government advised that no, it cannot be gazetted now. It has to wait until NIEF is finally concluded as an official policy and the legislative framework. And then when that has happened, then all sectoral policies, that's what NIEF says, all sectoral charters will be gazetted as regulations, and then they'll be regulated under the respective line ministries. In our case, the Minister of Mines and Energy will be responsible for enforcing the mining charter. And the beauty of it is the mining charter is something that now we have worked with the Minister of Mines and everybody's there. There are a few things to be panel. We've had very positive, it has been accepted all along, but we've been refining that. And we've actually, our mining charter, we've actually been trial, we've been running it on a trial basis.
I wonder if the investors' fears have been allayed. In our Community Talk segment, the Namibia Sports Expo has been launched, and we'll be checking that out after the break. This is Africa. Good morning.
Name is Aina Raisa. Soccer, the English Premier League continued, the biggest game being...
On that note, it is all our love, all our light.
The Namibia Sports Expo, as well as the Namibia Annual Sports Awards, were launched today in the capital. The Sports Expo will take place from 25 to 27 October under the theme High Performance Sports in Africa, whereas the Sports Awards will take place on 28 October under the theme Celebrating Sporting Excellence. Both events will be held in Swakopmund. Shirepo Musutua was at the expo, whereas Eka Plat spoke at the Sports Awards.
The weather will be kinder to us this time. We were freezing in our in our garments, so it's good to take it to different towns so that we can also celebrate, the richness and the culture of that town itself. Kindly allow me once more just to acknowledge all the judging panelists that Mr. Chainda also mentioned previously. This is just a reassurance to say that we are dedicated, we are committed, we are happy, we're excited to make sure that the right people do get acknowledged. I see it at a lot of media houses, and after this event, it's about, giving someone a pat on the back. Not only that, but recognizing, not only just when people reach it on the international level, but also locally and embracing that as well. The adjudication process will look at national, regional, international competition. The issue of national colors and international participation have been granted by the NSC, amongst others, which will form part of the adjudication process. The caliber of the adjudication panel itself give much credibility. If I may add that Mr. CK was just awarded by the NFA, the Legendary Award. So it shows that we have great expertise, and not only that, it takes a lot of work to monitor throughout, eyes and ears, through the media, through online, through peers, through our journalists, to say who really deserves it on and off the track. It just doesn't happen during the performance itself, but all the training that happens. I love to see the journalists that are here that celebrate those stories, that really write about what it took for them to get there, and that's why we're staging this come October this year. So it's also, again, as our director of ceremony said, we need to be ethical, we need to be very credible, we have to make sure that everything is done in confidentiality, no favoritism. It's a lot of hard work, and also encouraging those that now, today's the official open line on the portal, on the NSC portal, that's www.nscportal.org. Submit the submissions. Don't wait for the last minute. We need to see those true heroes and heroines to be awarded. Just to give some experience, last year as well, we saw a lot of talent, amazing sportsmen and women. I just wish that we could have had some of them to give their testimonies of what. Apart from the caliber of the panel serving this year, it is our recommitment to sports enthusiasts, for those fans and whoever else, sponsors, especially. I see Khadija and the whole team as well, and above all, Namibia.
The Namibian Competition Commission approved 7 proposed mergers as it was found shareholding in Tulongeni property developers. Let's head into the economic indicators. The Namibian dollar trades at 17.86 next to the US dollar, with 23.23 Namibian dollars getting you 1 British pound. Looking at commodities, gold, platinum and Brent crude oil managed some upticks, whilst copper made a downturn of 1.35%. In international news, U.S. Defense Secretary vows commitment to Ukraine at meeting of Ukraine Defense Contact Group. Stay with us.
Welcome to My.NA Cars, your ultimate destination for everything automotive.
I am your host, Diana Master.
Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Discover the latest models, innovative technologies, and expert insights from our passionate hosts. Learn essential maintenance tips and get exclusive behind-the-scenes access to the automotive industry. Don't miss My.NA Cars on NTV every Thursday at 2100 hours. Tune in and ignite your passion for automobiles.
U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin reaffirmed earlier today the U.S. and its allies have a shared resolve to support Ukraine throughout its war with Russia. Austin was speaking at a virtual meeting of the Ukraine Defense Contact Group. The group is a coalition of 54 countries that was formed in 2022 in response to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. It meets regularly to coordinate its support for Ukraine. Now, according to the Pentagon, Tuesday's meeting is expected to focus heavily on Ukraine's counteroffensive as well as Ukraine's air defense and ammunition requirements.
But Russia's aggression against Ukraine has produced a highly volatile situation. Putin's war continues to take a terrible and bloody toll. As I've said, Ukraine's fight for freedom is a marathon and not their peaceful neighbor.
Now, Australia's state of Victoria will not host the 2026 Commonwealth Games due to projected cost overruns, placing the future of the quadrennial multi-sport gathering.
Look, I've made a lot of difficult calls, a lot of very difficult decisions in this job. This is not one of them. Frankly, $6 to $7 billion for a 12-day sporting event, we are not doing that. That does not represent value for money, that is all. And I cannot stand here and say to you that I have any confidence that that even $7 billion number would appropriately and adequately fund these games. In terms of where we go to from here, the games will not proceed in Victoria in one of those options stack up.
Those have been our international stories. Let's have a look at the weather predictions. Now, the weather conditions are clear throughout the day. The maximum temperature in the north is around 30.4 degrees Celsius, while the minimum temperature is around 9.9 degrees Celsius. Now, the weather conditions are clear throughout the day. The maximum temperature in the north is around 30.4 degrees Celsius, while the minimum temperature is around 9.9 degrees Celsius. It is very cold in Rehoboth with a minimum
edition where Windhoek won the Southern Stream First Division, finishing ahead of the closest rivals, Namibia Correctional Services. Netball Namibia's Vice President of Development, Juanita Wetbeen, has urged players to participate in more local and international games in order to grow the game. Wetbeen took over the position on 12 June following the resignation of Marvelous Kasep Archer. Her term of office will run concurrently with the current board's term. Wetbeen said netball's long-term growth will be achieved by improving performances, visibility and participation at all levels, both local and international. That brings us to the end of this evening sports news. Good night.
Thank you for staying with Sunset News. Let's head into the highlights from this evening's broadcast. John Haufiku, spokesperson of the Namibia University of Science and Technology, has laughed off demands by suspended NAS Chief Legal Officer Joshua Kahombi that he should retract comments made during a talk show on the national broadcaster or pay 500,000 Namibian dollars in damages. The blood test conducted to determine the cause of death of the 16 family members from Kayova village who died of suspected food poisoning came out inconclusive. And the Namibia Sports Expo as well as the Namibia Annual Sports Awards were launched today in the capital. The Sports Expo will take place from 25 to 27 October under the theme High Performance Sports in Africa, whereas the Sports Awards will take place on 28 Excellence. Both events will be held in Swakopmund. And with that, we have come to the end of the broadcast. Make sure you join Sunset News on Facebook on all the NMH platforms on weekdays and Sundays, as well as on our website,